Yo, yo, yo! Welcome back to the MMA Short Show. As always, your boy, Stephen Moustaris. And guys, I had to come on here and just talk about the absolute disrespect right now that I'm seeing against Alexander Volkanovski. People are just writing him off already against Ilia Topuria. And it's blowing my mind, guys. Like, if there's anything I've learned in this sport or watching any sport, not just combat sports, not just MMA, not just boxing, it could be the NFL, NBA, anything you want to pick. If there's ever been a rule when it comes to picking a fighter or picking a winner or betting on somebody, never, ever, ever bet or pick on the guy who's being way too hyped up and is just that new, that new face right now, that new it factor. And that's what Ilia Topuria is reminding me of right now. This feels a lot like when I went back and actually, because it felt like it was reminding me a lot of Darren Till, or it was reminding me a lot of Paulo Costa, Ciryl Gane, when those guys were going on crazy runs before they got exposed against champions and whatnot. And when I went back and just kind of, looked and compared their careers, it is eerily similar, man. And I really think this might be a sign that I think Ilia Topuria might get, an eye opener here. And especially if you guys have been keeping up with it, he's been quoted multiple times here in the last few months, ever since July or something, talking about how he truly believes this Volkanovski fight's going to be the easiest fight that he's ever had. And that right there alone reminded me a lot of Darren Till when he got way too cocky before going in the Tyron Woodley fight, or Paulo Costa when he got way too cocky and barely trained and drank a bunch of wine and whatnot fighting before he fought Izzy. Like, when we go back and look, this is what really scares me with Ilia Topuria. And when we look at Ilia, yeah, cool. His last few wins, decision win over Josh Emmett, awesome win. He could show that he could go 5 rounds, but if we're being honest, that's a 38-year-old Josh Emmett. And 38-year-olds at 145, that's like a 45-year-old at heavyweight. This guy, he is phenomenal. He just came out a nasty knockout against Bryce Mitchell, but we saw him against Yair Rodriguez. We've seen him against these up-and-coming. He just falls short. So is it really that impressive? His submission over Bryce Mitchell at the time was pretty awesome because Bryce Mitchell was so hyped up. But now that we see with Bryce Mitchell, he's not as all hyped up as we thought he would be. This man is nowhere close to the top 5 talent at 145. It was an impressive win, but nowhere close to Volkanovski, Yair Rodriguez, even Josh Emmett, Max Hall. You can't even put him up there. It's not even close. And then, he almost gets knocked out by Jai Herbert, even though he knocks him out. He knocks out Ryan Hall, who doesn't even fight in the UFC anymore. He hasn't fought since 2021. That dude is like the definition of old school MMA fighter. Just has one martial art and jiu-jitsu, and that is it. And that was one of the most embarrassing fights ever. He knocks out Damon Jackson, Damon Jackson's on a 3-fight losing streak in the UFC. Luckily, it's against, pretty top-tier talent like Dan Ige and stuff, but still 3-fight losing streak. And then he has a decision win against Yusuf Zaldi, who's not even in the UFC anymore, and I've never even heard of him. And then when we look at Darren Till was 26-year-old. Ilia's right now 27, but Darren Till, when he was fighting Tyron Woodley, 26 years old, coming off a decision win against Wonder Boy, which feels a lot like Josh Emmett, where it's like 38-year-old, 40-year-old Wonder Boy. Is it really as impressive as it was if they were 32 years old? Like, no. TKO win over Cerrone. That Cerrone, 40 years old again. Yeah, great name, big name, a lot like a Bryce Mitchell, a lot like a Josh Emmett, even though Donald Cerrone has a way more, respective career. I understand that. But at the time when they fought him, older, like wasn't expected to win. His decision over Bohan Velikovic, never even heard of the guy. Had a decision over Jason Ayuri, never even heard of the guy. He had a draw against Nicholas Dalby, who is a good fighter, and then had a decision win against Wendell de Oliveira Marquez. And we never even heard of those guys. And look what happened to Darren Till. He goes in there, overconfident, gets absolutely starched by Tyron Woodley, goes on, gets starched by Masvidal, gets one win there against Kelvin Gastelum, but then loses to Robert Whitaker and the Derek Brunson and Dricus du Plessis. Like, he lost 5 of his last 6 after that. And then you go look at Paulo Costa, 28 years old before he fought Izzy. He had a tight win against Yoel Romero, 40 years old again, which is reminding you a lot of the Josh Emmett and the Wonder Boy fights. Yeah, Paulo Costa, or Yoel Romero, who's 40 years old. He had a TKO win over Uriah Hall, who, no offense to Uriah Hall, the man is a lot older, 37 years old, whatever, not that impressive as it was when Uriah Hall was 32. He had a TKO win over Johnny Hendricks, who was washed, old school Johnny Hendricks, not even prime Johnny Hendricks. This is after USADA. This is Johnny Hendricks just leaving. As soon as he got touched, he was just quitting fights. And he had a TKO win over Gareth McLennan, who I've never even heard of. And then you go look at Ciryl Gane, TKO win over a 40-year-old Derek Lewis. Wow, what are the odds again? Or decision win over Volkov. Decision win over Rosenstruck, who was coming off of that nasty knockout against Francis. TKO win over a 40-year-old Junior Dos Santos. Decision win over Tanner Boser. And then look what happens when he fights John Jones and Francis Ngannou. Gets beat. This is my whole point here, guys. We have watched this time in and time out, and I could make a whole video going over all the hype guys or the hype trains that got absolutely fraud checked. And this is all I'm saying. It feels a lot like so. And if the only reason you're picking you're picking Ilia Topuria over Alexander Volkanovski is because Volkanovski just got knocked out in October against Islam, okay, I can kind of see there, because I do agree. I think Volkanovski's coming off a little too quickly off of that knockout loss. But again, man, Volkanovski has fought the best of the best. We're talking about Islam Makhachev, who might be #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world right now. Might be the best fighter in the world right now. And he knocks him out. He is way taller. That head kick, Max Holloway landed it on Volkanovski. Max Holloway's taller. You're not going to see Ilia Topuria do that against Volkanovski for the most part, because he's not as tall. Volkanovski's always got that hand there. He even had his guard up when he fought Islam, but Islam was just a little too tall, and just had the top of his head. So, but the things that really worry me here, for especially you Ilia Topuria fans, name a fighter that you've ever seen Ilia Topuria fight who throws leg kicks like Volkanovski does. Name a fighter who pushes the pace as much as Volkanovski does. Name a fighter who's got as great defense as Volkanovski does. You know, I'm just saying, there's been multiple times Jai Herbert knocked him down. You've seen it again. Ilia Topuria has been knocked down in the regional circuit as well with head kicks. I'm telling you guys right now, this man gets rocked a lot more than you expect. He gets hit a lot more than you expect. Although his boxing looked clean against Josh Emmett, this is Alexander motherfucking Volkanovski, man. This guy puts it together the best you can see. This man's got great defense. This man's counter striking is ridiculous. His combo is ridiculous. His pace ridiculous. He can take you down if he needs. I know Ilia Topuria is a black belt on the ground, but Volkanovski is a killer. We saw what he did to Brian Ortega. Like, I wouldn't be shocked at all if Ilia Topuria does come out here and starts, Volkanovski, or gets a win or something, because I think Ilia Topuria is that good. But the fact that we see people coming out here and just instantly writing off Volkanovski as if he's some bum all of a sudden blows my mind, guys. I'm telling you right now, we see it all the time. These guys, like I just named, Darren Till, Paulo, Costa, Ciryl, Gane, every single one of these guys, when they get a little too confident and they get on these streaks right before they're about to fight the champion, you see stuff like you see with Ilia Topuria saying this fight's going to be the easiest fight he ever had. Darren Till was talking the same way about how this is going to be the easiest fight he ever had against Tyron Woodley. What did Tyron Woodley do to him? Paulo Costa, like I said, was sitting there talking all that shit about Izzy, saying how easy of a fight it was going to be because Izzy doesn't even fight and he's soft and all these things. And Paulo Costa's training was clearly off. He was talking about how much he was drinking and all this the night before the fight. Like, look what happened. Got his ass absolutely handed to him. Ciryl Gane, there was videos when he was fighting John Jones of him playing video games instead of, training or watching video like we see John Jones. Francis Ngannou, you could tell that he didn't train at all in that fight when it came to the ground game. Like, and he got absolutely exposed. Like, these guys get too confident, and I'm telling you right now, they run into that guy who's just a little too good. Like we even saw with Hamzat, getting all that cocky, getting all that confidence, and then he fights a guy like Gilbert Burns or fights a guy like Kamaru Usman who has seen everything, and their defense is going to be there all night. You're not going to take these guys out like that. And when it becomes a dogfight, they just don't have it in them. And I'm really thinking if Ilia Topuria gets any pushback at all or gets tested at all, I could see him quitting. I could see him drowning. And I could see Volkanovski getting a pretty, I don't want to say easy win, but at the end of it, and when he finishes him, I could see it being like, okay, yeah, this is, what were we thinking? You know what I'm saying? What were we thinking picking Ilia Topuria? So this is my only thing. I'm not saying that Ilia Topuria doesn't have a chance. He is phenomenal. He's great talent. If they're hyping him up as much as they are hyping him, he should win this fight. But I'm just reminding you guys, don't get overzealous here. Don't get overexcited. Don't get too crazy when it comes to writing off these champions who are absolutely proven just for some guy who's just the new hot name of the month or the new hot name of the year. Like, let's just settle it down a little bit and pump the brakes. But it just really, really reminds me. Ilia Topuria reminds me a lot of Darren Till right now, a lot of Paulo Costa. Like I said, and I even went through and just, kind of just compared to the last 5 or 6 opponents before they got those fights in the UFC or got their title fight, and they all got exposed, every single one of them. So you guys let me know for sure what you all think. I really do think Volkanovski's going to pull this out. And, as somebody that's a Max Holloway fan, you want to see Volkanovski lose just because Max Holloway can get his chance. But with Max going up to 155 and whatnot. I don't know. But I'm just telling you guys right now, don't be shocked at all if Ilia Topuria loses this fight to Volkanovski and then gets put up against somebody like Yair Rodriguez, who is an absolute nightmare matchup when it comes to that striking. I still think Yair Rodriguez is giving Ilia Topuria all the problems. And say he loses that one, and then say he finally gets matched up against like an Ortega or, you know, a freaking Arnold Allen or any of these, Evlov or somebody, that could be a loss. And then he fights Max Holloway or something. That could be 4 losses in a row for Ilia Topuria after losing to Volkanovski. And I'm just letting you guys know, it wouldn't be shocking at all. It wouldn't be shocking at all. And then we're sitting here, wow, he is the next Darren Till, or he is the next Paulo Costa, or he is the next Ciryl Gane, whatever it may be. So, as always, your boy, Steven Moustaris. And let's go, baby. I'm hyped for these fights. We got some stacked cards coming up. So, let's go.